emergency ordinance only to clamp down on fake news. ITP confirms Penang police officer released Macau scam suspects. Well, good evening and thanks for joining us. You're watching News at 10. I am Muhammad Amin Carlos. Well, the enforcement of the Emergency for Essential Powers No. 2 Ordinance 2021 is specifically aimed to tackle fake news on COVID-19 and emergency proclamation. Communications and Multimedia Minister Dato' Saifuddin Abdullah said the ordinance is a short-term remedy to curb the spread of fake news on the pandemic and the proclamation of emergency to ensure public order and safety.
So, we have done our campaign, we have done our pemakluman, tapi benda ni masih berleluasa. And now, it's a very strategic time. Proses ataupun program imunisasi ni mesti berjaya because this is the answer or one of the biggest answer untuk COVID-19. We cannot fail. But there are people who may disturb the process and we have to take action. There's no choice.
He said this to reporters while refuting the allegation that the ordinance was politically motivated. Dato' Saifuddin said this at a joint press conference with Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Dato' Sri Taqiyuddin Hassan in Putrajaya, on the ordinance which took effect today. He said the ordinance enforcement will be carried out by the Royal Malaysia Police, PDRM, and Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, MCMC officers. Well, community pharmacists are now included in the list of frontliners who will be vaccinated under the first phase of the National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme. Well, Health Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Adam Baba said the COVID-19 Vaccine Supply Access Guarantee Special Committee, or JKJAV, meeting held yesterday has agreed to include community pharmacists in Category 2 of the guidelines to determine list of frontliners under the National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme. Well, Dato' Sri Adham said the decision was made following a request by the Malaysian Pharmacist Society, MPS, and Malaysian Community Pharmacy Guild. The Health Minister stated that it will benefit some 4,000 community pharmacists in Malaysia who will be vaccinated under the first phase of the program. Category 2 frontliners are those involved in the health sectors, defence agency, as well as personnel of security forces and essential services. Well, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation Khairi Jamaluddin announced that he will receive his Sinovac vaccine shot a week after its arrival on 15 March. Well, Khairi, who is also the coordinating minister for National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme, expressed his hope that the public will gain confidence regarding the vaccine's efficacy.
15 hari bulan Sinovac akan sampai. Bahan yang lengkap, maksudnya tak payah dibotolkan lagi. So dalam 15 hari bulan sampai, dalam tempoh masa seminggu, saya akan terima Sinovac.
After its first shipment on 15 March, another 100,000 doses of Sinovac vaccine are expected to arrive 4 days later. Approximately 95% of police officers and personnel nationwide are ready to receive the COVID-19 vaccine shots. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Badur said only 3% of them will not be able to do so due to health reasons.
Tetapi saya akan berusaha lah, menerangkan tentang kebaikannya. Ya. Kita berdasarkan kepada pandangan dan nasihat daripada Kementerian Kesihatan. Itulah tempat rujukan yang paling tepat sekali. Bukan daripada bomoh, bukan daripada ni pendeta ke apa ke, tidak. Ya? Ataupun guru-guru ajaran sesat ke, tidak. Ya? Daripada KKM tadi.
Tan Sri Abdul Hamid said this in response to a media report that a number of Kelantan police personnel had allegedly refused to take the vaccine. Meanwhile, the IGP said the emergency for essential powers No. 2 Ordinance 2021, which takes effect today, will enable the police to act immediately against those who spread fake news relating to COVID-19 and the proclamation of emergency. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid said prior to this, the police had to obtain the order to investigate, or OTI, from the Deputy Public Prosecutor's DPP office first, which may take a week, which often delayed any enforcement and action that needs to be taken. Well, the Sunway Pyramid Convention Centre will be used as a vaccination centre for the ongoing National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme, NIP, until February next year. In a statement today, Sunway Group said the 80,000 square feet convention centre opened its doors on 10th March and would be used for vaccination involving at least 1.8 million people, starting with frontline workers, followed by residents in the Petaling district over the next 11 months. Well, following the NIP, the centre will carry out vaccinations for healthcare workers in government and private facilities, as well as essential services from February to April 2021. Remaining healthcare workers, essential workers and enforcement officers, as well as senior citizens and high-risk groups, will be vaccinated from April to August 2021, with vaccinations for the community at large from August 2021 to February 2022. The statement added that as of 12 March, some 1,400 frontline workers have been vaccinated. The vaccination is carried out by the Petaling Health District Office with strict adherence to the SOPs in small groups with adequate social distancing. Free parking is provided for those going to get vaccinated over the next 11 months. Sunway Group Deputy Executive Chairman Tan Sri Dato Sri Razman M. Hashim said Sunway reported and supported the 80% herd immunity target in Malaysia, which would save lives and livelihoods as well as help the country regain economic sustainability. And on to the latest update of COVID-19 cases in the country. The Health Ministry today logged 1,575 new COVID-19 transmissions in the last 24 hours, bringing the cumulative cases since the outbreak began to 320,939. Now, from the figure, 1,568 cases were local infections, while the remaining 7 were imported. Well, Selangor continues to record the highest COVID-19 new cases in the state with 751, followed by Sarawak, 173 cases, Johor, 135, and Pulau Pinang, 135. The Health Ministry also reported 2,042 new recoveries from the deadly virus as of noon today, pushing the recovery rate to 94.31%, or 302,662 from total cases recorded so far. To date, there are 17,074 active cases in the country, with 147 individuals are currently receiving treatment in the ICU and 67 of them required breathing assistance. 3 new deaths were reported today, taking the country's death toll caused by the virus to 1,203 cases. The individual who was issued with a 10,000 ringgit compound for violating the COVID-19 Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP, did not register his details at the restaurant he went to. Well, a report has gone viral showing the compound for an individual who failed to scan the MySejahtera application at a restaurant in Bukit Jalil yesterday. Subsequently, many on social media had claimed that the man had actually registered his details using other means. Cheras District Police Chief ACP Muhammad Mohsen Muhammad Zon said the Compliance Operation Task Force performed an inspection at a restaurant in Bukit Jalil at 6:55 p.m. yesterday. The task force has issued a compound on an individual for not scanning the MySejahtera app or registered his details manually on the registration book prepared. When contacted today, ACP Muhammad Mohsen said a compound of 10,000 ringgit was issued on those who violated the SOP in accordance to the emergency ordinance. He dismissed allegations that the individual had actually used other means to register his details. It was reported that starting yesterday, the quantum has been increased from 1,000 ringgit to a maximum of 10,000 ringgit under the emergency ordinance. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Badur had said that the police SOPs are only authorized to issue compounds to those who flout COVID-19 SOPs, but the actual amount will be decided by the Health Ministry's District Health Officer, PKD. And he had said that while the compounds are set at a maximum of 10,000 ringgit, the final amount is at the discretion of the PKD. The Pulau Pinang Water Supply Corporation, PBAPP, has recommended the state government to carry out cloud seeding operations to achieve a minimum of 80% effective capacities in the Itam and Teluk Bahang dams by December 2021. Its Chief Executive Officer, Dato' Justini Maidinsa, said there had been minimal rainfall in the water catchment areas of the two dams. He said the minimal rainfall resulted in the Itam Dam's effective capacity declining to 77.3% as of yesterday from 95.2% on 1st January this year, while the Teluk Bahang Dam dropped to 56.7% from 58.7%. He said the state government should implement cloud seeding again this year to encourage heavier rainfall, which can be done during the inter-monsoon season in April right up until December, like what was done last year.
2020 last year was very dry. It dropped to 186, and this year is the worst, only 123. So with this type of rainfall, if it goes on, the dam cannot be replenished. So that's why we have to act fast.
He said this in a press conference on Pulau Pinang's dam water level today. He said Itam Dam could last for 75 days with the current level of effective capacity, while the Teluk Bahang Dam could last for 170 days. Dato' Justini said PBAPP is issuing the first water supply alert for this year to ensure that both dams have enough capacity to last until August. He said PBAPP has been optimizing daily drawdowns from the Itam Dam and Teluk Bahang Dam. Apart from that, he said PBAPP is also drawing down raw water from the Mengkuang Dam in Seberang Perai to support water production at the Sungai Dua water treatment plant. Deemed as the state's strategic dam, he said the Mengkuang Dam's effective capacity was still high, namely at 94.9% as of yesterday. Coming up, Dato' Sri Aziz fails in bid to quash money laundering corruption charges. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid today confirmed that an officer from the Penang Commercial Crime Investigation Department (CCID) had indeed released the suspects involved in a Macau scam. He said investigations by Bukit Aman Integrity and Standard Compliance Department or JIPS found there was such an offence.
Pada semua pegawai-pegawai saya di bawah, hentikan perbuatan-perbuatan sebegini ya. Di mana mereka yang telah melanggar peraturan melakukan kesalahan di bawah kanun kesiasaan. Boleh memang kita nak charge pegawai-pegawainya.
He said the police force is no longer keen on taking disciplinary action because the punishment is not commensurate to the offence. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid said any action to sack or demote such officers will have to be done by the Police Force Commission or SPP. In a press conference in Bukit Aman yesterday, the IGP said the findings of police investigations related to 31 police personnel identified to have colluded with the Macau scam syndicate had been submitted to the SPP for further action. On another matter, Tan Sri Abdul Hamid warned that stern action will be taken against those who plan to take to the streets to protest against the High Court's decision over the Allah issue. But he said this includes using the Sedition Act. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid also advised them to instead use the proper channels such as Parliament or Court of Appeal instead of taking matters into their own hands.
Tetapi sekiranya ada pihak yang mengugut untuk turun ke jalanan, saya memberi amaran kepada mereka supaya tidak meneruskan hasrat tersebut. Kita sedang berjuang dengan COVID-19 ni. PDRM tak mau lagi lah. FRU pun saya kerah untuk jaga roadblock. Saya tak mau FRU ni guna untuk nak mengawal demonstrasi apa semua. Saya perlukan kekuatan FRU ni untuk tugasan-tugasan COVID-19.
On Wednesday, the Kuala Lumpur High Court ruled that Christians can use Allah in their books and in religious education. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid was met after attending the conferment of the pilot wing and the closing of the private pilot's license PPL course at the Police IR Wing Unit Training Base in Ipoh today. Well, former Tabung Haji Chairman Dato Sri Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahim today failed in his bid to quash 3 corruption charges he is facing pertaining to road projects in Perak and Kedah, as well as 10 charges for money laundering. Now, this followed High Court Judge Dato Muhammad Jamil Hussein's decision in dismissing the application on grounds that all the charges made against Dato Sri Abdul Aziz, who is 54, were not defective and based on the provisions of law. Well, Judge Muhammad Jamil also said the charges made under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission or MACC Act against Dato Sri Abdul Aziz, 54, were not flawed, even though 4 separate projects were combined in one charge, as the bribes received were in relation to those projects. Now, for the money laundering offences, Judge Muhammad Jamil said there was no ambiguity, as the charge contained details as required by Section 152 and Section 153 of the Criminal Procedure Code, or CPC. And apart from that, the judge said the omission of details, which is exact date and location in the charge, did not cause the applicant to be confused that he could not submit an appropriate defense. Now, based on a check on the judicial website, Dato Sri Abdul Aziz's case has been set for hearing before Sessions Court Judge Azura Alwi next Monday. Dato Sri Abdul Aziz was charged with 3 counts of accepting bribes amounting to 5.2 million ringgit in connection with road projects in Perak and Kedah, and 10 counts of money laundering involving a total of 13.9 million ringgit, which he allegedly received from Menuju Asas Sendirian Berhad. Well, a Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL Assistant Administrative Officer was charged in 3 session courts today on 120 counts of obtaining a total of 82,700 ringgit from 5 company owners 4 years ago. However, Muhammad Helfin Nordin, 44, pleaded not guilty to all the charges before judges Susanna Hussein, Rosina Ayub and Azura Alwi. Now, for all the charges, Muhammad Helfin, as the Zone 2 housing officer at DBKL's Housing Management and Community Development Department, was alleged to have obtained for himself 82,700 ringgit, which was deposited into his Maybank account without consideration from 5 owners of cleaning companies whom he knew had connection with his official functions. Well, the offences were allegedly committed at the Medan Tuanku branch of the Malayan banking Berhad Maybank, Jalan Medan Tuanku 1 in the nation's capital between January 2014 and June 2017. Now, the charges were framed under Section 165 of the Penal Code, which provides an imprisonment for up to 2 years of fine or both upon conviction. He was allowed bail of 47,000 ringgit with 1 surety for all charges, and also ordered to surrender his passport to the court, as well as report himself at the nearest Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC office on the first week of every month until the disposal of his case. Deputy Public Prosecutor Fadli Abdul Wahab prosecuted, while Muhammad Helfin, who has a wife and 4 children, was unrepresented. The court set 12 April for mention. And with that item, we conclude this evening's News at 10. In our top story, emergency ordinance only focuses on tackling fake news on COVID-19 emergency proclamation. Well, folks, do join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos, and stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM, and have a pleasant evening.